welcome all of you to this first ever town hall meeting. Before we dive into the curriculum of the day, first we want to say thank you from both BASA and OSBA. We know the school districts were given with very, very little warning, an unprecedented challenge, and you all put together what I would call an Apollo 13-like solution. Boards created a vision to provide leadership. The school administrators stepped up to create possibilities in a very improbable environment. Teachers thought outside the box to deliver education. Our support staff found ways to help deliver food, reach out to parents, and provide a healthy and safety school. So it was a fantastic response, and we all owe you a debt of gratitude. On behalf of OSBA, I'd also like to acknowledge the thousands of school board members who are helping their communities in other roles. School board members not only serve through service to their school boards, but they also pay forward as the first responders and medical professionals. They keep our power on, they keep our kitchens stocked, they keep our homes functioning and our neighborhoods safe and clean. And we want to make certain we take a moment to thank all of them for risking their lives in these crazy times to help everybody else get through the crisis. I think we now have a better understanding of all the unsung heroes that have always been out there for us. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have to tell you this. Living in Ohio is changing by the day, if not by the hour. The world that we knew 2 weeks ago is a memory, and it continues to evolve every day, perhaps every hour. And that's why it's more important than ever that your associations step up to serve as a source of assistance, guidance, unity, and support. And one of those things that we want to do, and you've seen a lot coming from us. You've probably been inundated in emails and other updates as each day goes by, but we thought this type of meeting today would be critical. What we want to do is spend the first few moments of the meeting giving you some very, very timely updates. In a moment, Cheryl Ryan, our Director of Board and Management Services, is going to give you an update on the role of school board members during times of crisis and what boards should be doing to step up in that leadership role. Sarah Clark from our legislative team is going to give an update on how board meetings can be conducted during the pandemic. And Jennifer Hogue from our legislative team, our Director of Legislative Services, is going to give you a brief legislative update that was just really off the heels of last week. And then finally, what we really want to spend most of our time on today is a sharing session. What is working out there and what can we learn? What challenges are you facing and what solutions might others have for you? We know in Ohio, one size doesn't fit all, but perhaps we can learn from each other. Every district has its unique challenges. Every district has its unique opportunities. But if you have a need for guidance on an issue you're trying to tackle, please today ask away. If you have ideas on how or something you would like to showcase from your district that's worked well, this is a great time to shout those out as well. Gaining knowledge is the first step to wisdom. And it's probably sharing that information is the most fundamental act of friendship, because you can give something away without losing it. So I'm going to get out of the way here now and shortly turn things over. I did want to share that session will be moderated by Dr. Kathy McFarland, OSBA's Deputy Executive Director. As we go through these first 3 sessions, if you have any questions, please type them into your chat box. We'll be monitoring those, and at the end of the presentation, each of the speakers will have an opportunity to go back and read and answer your questions for you. And Kathy's will be a little bit more interactive. But before we go on to the presenters, I think Dr. Kirk Hamilton from the Buckeye Association of School Administrators is out there. Kirk, is there anything you would like to add today? Okay, Kirk might be muted, so we'll go ahead and just start the program with heading over to Cheryl. Are you up first?
I didn't know whether Kathy would want to just share with everybody something about the logistics. We are going to try and manage most of your questions today through the chat box. So at the bottom of your screen, if you haven't already done so, you can hit the chat bubble and come up, and I can see that there are a couple of questions. First, I see a question about recording the session, and yes, we will be posting this webinar to the OSBA website, much like the one that was done on Friday regarding the new legislation has been posted to the OSBA website as well. So you can also raise your hand and we'll try and call on you, especially towards the end of our hour here. We want to be able to hear from as many of you as possible. So this is a little bit of our agenda today, as Rick gave you a welcome and a little overview about where we are all today. We're going to talk a little bit about being a school board member at this time. And we're going to turn it over to our legal division and Sarah Clark to talk about managing your board meetings during the crisis. Some more on legislative update, and then we're going to try and hear from you. If you've got challenges, if you have things that have been very successful in your district that you are proud of, we want to be able to answer your questions and for you to be able to share with one another. We promise to get you out of here right at 5 o'clock, if not just a little bit before that. So I'm going to start out with the role of the school board member during the pandemic. First of all, we just want to say how much we empathize with all of you. You're wearing a lot of hats as board members and also as administrators. But as the Board Members Association, I wanted to talk just for a few seconds about the fact that so many of our board members are working professionals, and you're trying to continue to be a working person, a professional person from home. Maybe you're going into the office. But if whatever you're doing, you're doing that. You're managing your family. You're worried about friends and loved ones who aren't in your home that you can't touch right now. And that's stressful and something all of us are feeling. In addition to that, board members are really concerned about their districts. Our children being able to continue their learning, what the interruptions are like in terms of achievement. Operationally, how are your buildings doing? What will be the repercussions of this for your district? All the plans that you made as a board in the past couple of years, maybe even as recently as January, could be very different. And so we just want to say we're empathizing with you. We understand where you're coming from, and we hope that you will continue to know how much all of us at OSBA are here and here for you. We are on the phones. We are on the computer. We are virtually with you. And if there's anything you need from OSBA, you can call us at that same number you've always called us, 614-540-4000, and you're going to get an answer right away. The next thing I wanted to share is just encouraging you to stay informed on a continual basis. As we all saw today with Governor DeWine's most recent press conference, things are changing every day. Your district will rely on you to be the voice of education in your district. So to the best of your ability, if you can wade through the many resources and emails that you're getting, find the ones that are most important to you. Maybe as a board, the 5 of you can decide who will monitor the special education updates and who will monitor the school closing updates and who might monitor first responder updates, etc. So that you can, as a group, stay very informed, because that's really important right now. There are changes in law and legislation, as we saw last week, and we're going to try at OSBA to keep you updated on all of that the best we can, but that's really our watchword for you, is to do your best to dive in and more than ever before pay attention to what comes across your television and your computer screen and your newspaper. Okay, next. Okay, we talk all the time, as you know, about the chain of command, and it is never more important than it is right now. Because we are all behaving virtually, it's just super critical that we assign issues to the people most prepared to manage those issues. Allow your superintendent to lead. Allow your treasurer to continue to be the financial professional that he or she is in your community. Make sure, as neighbors reach out to you, as parents reach out to you, as teachers reach out to you, that you listen, as you always have, and be a resource for them to guide them to the person in your district that can be most helpful. Everybody in your district is working as hard as you are, and they're going to want to take care of people and to hold their virtual hands as much as possible. So use that chain of command. And if you have questions about that, or interruptions in the chain and issues that we can help you with in board services, please give us a call. The communication pipeline is really critical right now. So use your web page, use your school Facebook page, use your Twitter. Make sure that all of the communicating that you've all told us that you do on a regular basis, we might need to double and triple up on that right now. We need to make sure that everybody in your community feels that you're there for them and knows where to go for the right information and accurate information at all times. Reassure your community that you, the board, are still the resource. You're still leading. You're still meeting. You're still talking with each other. You're still talking maybe even on a daily basis with your superintendent, and that your district's success and ongoing health is as important to you now as it ever has been. And that the 5 of you, along with your leadership team, your superintendent and treasurer, and all the people that help them run your school district are there for you. But that the board is continuing to do its work. So however you can communicate that in your district, we encourage you to do that. Next slide, please. We'd really encourage you to share your successes. I have heard from my district and from neighboring districts about all the wonderful learning going on across our state. Teachers and administrators are working so hard with special needs students, gifted students, seniors, preschool students. We saw an example last week of a preschool class having a virtual sing-along. There's fantastic things going across the state, and we're hoping that you'll share your successes. Share them with us and share them with each other, and most importantly, share them with your community. Make sure your district website, particularly your front page, is as current as it can be with information, and make it easy for people to find the resources that they need in your community. And last, I will leave you with this before turning things over to our legal division. Please use the hashtag Ohio Remote Learning in Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we will help you broadcast your successes. Remember, OSBA is here for you, and the board services team looks forward to being of service. Now I'm going to turn things over to Sarah Clark.
And before we do that, thanks, Cheryl. I learned that Kirk Hamilton is actually on the phone, and so we wanted to give him an opportunity to say hello to everybody before we kicked off the legal portion.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being part of this webinar today, and thank you for your service to our public schools. It's been said, may we live in interesting times, and we certainly do. As we go through this webinar this afternoon and talk about the things that we can do to help our school districts continue to be successful and continue to serve students and community, I hope we'll all remember that we're all, as the governor says, we're all in this together, and we'll get through this together, and there is no playbook. So as we have these experiences, please feel free to reach out to BASA as well as OSBA with those questions, and to discuss concerns, plans, opportunities, but most of all, just thank you for your continued commitment and service. And leadership matters, and it matters no more than it does right now. So thanks, and we look forward to continuing to work together for the success of our students.
All right, thank you. I am going to a little bit about, my name is Sarah Clark. I work in the division, and I'm going to talk a little bit about board meetings during the pandemic, and hopefully answer any questions that you may have on this topic. So this is by far the question that our division has gotten the most since everybody's been ordered to stay at home. And the answer got a little bit easier for us last week when the governor signed House Bill 197. So that legislation has a section in it that talks specifically about the board's ability and any public entity's ability to hold virtual meetings, and it allows board members to hold and attend meetings by teleconference, video conference, and other similar electronic technology. It also says that board members who attend virtually can be counted for quorum purposes. It allows them to vote, and it allows their vote to be counted. And it clearly states that any action that's taken by the board virtual board meeting has the same effect as if it was taken in person. I know that there were some questions in the chat box already about whether the board needs to pass a resolution to utilize virtual meetings. The answer is no. The law does not require that. I know some law firms had suggested that when the Attorney General's office had issued a letter, there was not this language that I'm talking about right now in place. And so some school districts were encouraging boards, or I'm sorry, some attorneys were encouraging school districts to pass a resolution basically to authorize this. But you don't need to pass a resolution. You have clear language now in House Bill 187 that is authorizing you to hold electronic meetings and hold those virtually and electronically. You can do the next slide, please. We're going to talk through a little bit about what this actually looks like for your school district. One of the questions that we're getting is, okay, well, what are our options? What is a virtual meeting? The statute and the language, the bill does not have specific technology that you're required to use. It actually authorizes and has a pretty broad scope of different things that would allow you to do it. So teleconference, video conference, any other similar electronic technology are all listed as options. So that would include things, which is the meeting platform we're using now, Skype, GoToMeeting, YouTube, those types of things probably fall underneath the type of category that we're talking about for virtual meeting. You have the discretion to use whichever technology you would like to use. I did want to make you available or make you aware of something that may be available to your district. You actually have the option right now of getting a license for Zoom, which is, again, the technology platform that we're using right now, through MCOECN and your local ITC. So if that is something that you're interested in, it's a relatively cheap license. It's $5 per license, and that expires June 30th. And if you need any assistance in acquiring that, please contact OSBA. We're happy to help. So lots of different types of technology. All those things would qualify as a virtual meeting. The meeting, you are required to notify the public and anyone else, including the media, that has requested notification of the meeting. That notice has to go out at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting and needs to include the time, location, and the manner by which the meeting will be conducted. From a practical standpoint, I think that that meeting notice should probably include the type of technology that you're going to be using. So, for example, Zoom or Skype or GoToMeeting, and should also include the meeting ID and any web link that the public might need in order to access. You still have the ability to hold an emergency meeting, and in those cases, you're just required to provide immediate notice to those who have requested notification. The next question about public access and participation. So since this language came out, I would say that this is probably the most question that we've been getting in the legal division. So you are still required to make your meetings open to the public. So that hasn't been eliminated from the Open Meetings Act requirements. The public has to be able to observe and hear the discussions and deliberations of all of the board meeting members. And the language in the bill suggests that a few ways to do this are to live stream the meeting by means of the internet, local radio, television, cable, or public access channels, call-in information for a teleconference, or by means of any other similar electronic technology. Many boards have adopted policies that specifically require or authorize public participation. The Open Meetings Act doesn't require you to provide the public with an opportunity to comment at its meetings. But as I mentioned, most boards do have a policy that requires public participation at board meetings. I would recommend that you carefully review those policies and see whether you're still able to comply with everything that's outlined in your policies on the technology platform that you've selected. So for example, in this platform that we're using here, you can unmute people to allow them to participate. Some video conferences allow for a chat function that would allow you to receive written comments that are submitted by the public. Double check those policies though, because there may be some language in there that is a little bit more difficult to comply with over one of these electronic platforms. So for example, if your policy requires members of the public to sign up in advance, can you figure out a way to do that on a platform like Zoom? One of the other things that I've seen some districts do or toss around is set up alternative methods for providing opportunities to comment. So for example, some districts are considering setting up a voicemail or an email inbox for those types of comments. And then an administrator or a board member reads those comments out loud to the board during the board meeting. And so it's an opportunity for the public's comments to be heard during those meetings. So again, read your policies carefully. If you can't comply with any of the requirements on the new platform, work with your legal counsel. You may need to amend or suspend the policy during the pandemic. Next question that we frequently will get deals with executive session. Executive session, this is another area that I would recommend that you work through in advance to figure out the logistics of that looks like on whatever platform you're using. Some platforms, like the one we're using, Zoom, has things that are called breakout rooms or separate conference areas that actually allow you to make those rooms accessible only to certain people. So you actually can invite, the 5 board members, the superintendent and treasurer, to the separate meeting space and then return to the main meeting space when you're done. I'd strongly suggest that you work through those issues with your IT departments and your legal counsel for their recommendation on how to proceed from both a logistical and a legal perspective. As far as other requirements, don't forget that you're still required to keep full and accurate minutes of all of your meetings, and that those minutes still need to be promptly prepared, filed, and maintained. Most of these platforms allow you to record your meetings. If you do record them, they will likely need to be recorded on the public record, maintained in accordance with your district's retention schedule. The last question that we've gotten is, do you think that this will allow or extend beyond the time of the pandemic? Right now, the language only covers meetings. This language is only in temporary law. And only covers meetings that are during the period of the emergency, but no later than December 1st. So additional action would need to be taken by the General Assembly to extend the board's ability to hold virtual meetings after that date. I will open it up to questions now. You can continue to ask questions and we'll answer them at the end. And I think I answered the question about public participation, but if I didn't, let me know. And if not, I will turn it over to Jennifer to talk about some other legislative items.
Thanks, Sarah. I just want to give you a brief legislative update today. I think probably most of you have a new routine and part of your day in the afternoon, and that's to watch the governor's 2 o'clock press conference. If you're not watching those, I strongly encourage you to do so. He does a great job of not only sharing what's going on with state government, but sort of walking you through the progression of the virus through the state and what we can expect in the coming days. Today, his big announcement, though, hit home for us. It was the extension of our school closure and remote learning through May 1st. So I think most of what was done in House Bill 197 will take care of many of the questions and concerns that folks had with the initial school closing order. But if something pops up and hasn't been taken care of, we ask that you please reach out to us and let us know. We are participating in weekly calls with the governor's office and the Department of Education. Actually, Will Schwartz is on one for us this afternoon with ODE right now, and we can take to them questions, comments, and concerns that come up so that we can sort of be thinking about what the next round of legislation might need to be. So on Friday, I know many of you joined us. We did a legislative update using the same platform. The link to that is available in the slide there. I would encourage you to go take a look. We spent a good hour going through everything and unpacking that bill for you and answering questions. So I'm not going to do the same thing today, but please, if you get a chance, go check that out. It's also available on OSBA's website under our COVID-19 page with all kinds of other resources and information for you. But probably the big issues to highlight today for you in the legislative update are the fact that they took care of not just the open meetings that Sarah just discussed with you, but also testing, waiving all testing for this year, which was incredibly helpful. Also, report cards will not be given this year. There'll be no summative state and local report cards. Also graduation, making exceptions for this year's seniors. So if they were on track to graduate at the time that the order came for school closure, they can still graduate with the decision of the principal, the teacher, and the school counselor. We've had a question from a lot of folks about, well, what about other years, other graduating classes that are coming up that are missing their assessments this year? The answer to that is it's still unresolved. It's one of the things that we've put on the list to talk to OD and the governor about. The main trying to take care of issues in this bill. They look just at this year and this year's graduating class, but we know more work will need to be done in that area in the future. Also, in terms of the school year and attendance, they made changes to allow any sort of remote learning that's taking place during this time to be counted towards meeting your minimum school year and your minimum number of hours. How all of that's going to play out in terms of reporting is still yet to come through ODE guidance, but rest assured that the intent of the General Assembly and the governor is that all of the work being done now in homes across the state is to be counted towards your school year being fulfilled. Also, the last change that's very important is that primary election that was delayed is now a vote by mail election. So individuals who haven't had the chance to vote yet still can. They just need to apply for an absentee ballot. That application needs to be submitted by noon on the 25th of this month. And then ballots will be mailed out and need to be returned back to the Board of Elections either by mail or in person at the Board of Elections by April 28th. So again, check out that webinar for more details. And we'll get more information to you as it comes about. We know that the legislature isn't slated to be back in unless they absolutely need to. The House Speaker just announced today that he has allowed staff from the House is encouraging them and ordering them to work from home through the end of this, or through the end of April. So we know it'll be quite a while before they come back. But again, I think there'll be some other things we need to tie up. So please pass those questions, comments, and concerns to us so we can work to get those things fixed for you. Also, the governor had in his press conference on Saturday, some of you may have seen, made a call for folks to donate any PPE that they have on hand, specifically looking for their top 10 items. Those are available for you to check out at coronavirus.ohio.gov, but the main need are in gloves, surgical masks, and the N95 masks that many districts may have on hand and could donate to the effort. So if you have those available, please do so. I know several districts have done that already. There was just a story today about Dublin. I saw the Delaware Area Career Center has done the same, and I'm sure many of you have. But if you have more PPE or a PPE on hand that you could donate, please email together at governor.ohio.gov, and they will let you know where to take that so that it can be distributed to the hospitals that need it most. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put those in there and we'll answer them as we go. But for now, I'll turn things back over to Dr. McFarland.
And first of all, I want to do a big shout out to the OSBA team. Thank you so much for all that information and resources. And I really want to reiterate that we are here and we are available to you. And so please make sure that you're continuing to allow us to support all the great work that you're doing. We are going to be, just as a reminder, that we will be presenting this in a recorded fashion on our website. So if you'd like, we're unable to or would like to share it, it will be available to you on the OSBA website. Right now, I think it's probably the most important part of our show today, I guess we'll call it a show, is that gives you a chance to share some of the great things that you're doing in your district that you think may help others. And so if you hover over on the bottom under participants, it'll give you an option to raise your hand. And if you want to push that because you want to share something, we will be more than happy to call on you and give you an opportunity to share with all of us. If you cannot find your raise your hand option, you can also just type something in the chat box that you'd like to share. So I'll give you guys a couple seconds here to figure out if you'd like to share anything with us. I'm going to ask my team if they see any hands. Let me know.
I'd be interested in knowing, Kathy, it's Cheryl, whether anybody wants to share their biggest challenge right now, especially if there's something another district may have discovered an answer for. So a challenge or a success or a question, love to hear from our board members.
It looks like we have something from Matt Miller. Matt wants to share something a lot of the teachers and staff are doing on Zoom. So I'm going to ask Drew if he can unmute Matt Miller.
Thanks. Just a quick plug. John Marshausen, who's the superintendent at Hilliard, and I'm Matt Miller. I'm the superintendent at Lakota down in Cincinnati. We have a group called Actionable Leaders, and we're working with VASA, actually, our state superintendent organization, to push out Zoom calls, not just for superintendents, but we did a few last week, and we have several scheduled this week for elementary principals, for secondary principals, and actually today we started teachers talking. So essentially, it's just getting as many educators from Ohio together on Zoom calls like this to talk about what challenges we're doing, what we're doing for kids, what are our success stories, and what do we need help with. And so we're recording those, we're capturing them, we're going to push them out. Today we had secondary math teachers on a call. We had special education teachers, which we had 450 special education teachers from across Ohio in one room together, collaborating and talking about how we're going to do remote learning. Later this week, there's guidance counselors, there's secondary English teachers, tech directors, communication teams. So essentially any of the silos that you can think of in terms of collaboration and getting people together to talk about this, which is uncharted territory for all of us, we're trying to do. So appreciate OSBA's help with pushing this out, and Rick's been helpful in that regard too. So I just want to put the plug out there that there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes to help all of our kids. So.
That's great. Thanks, Matt, for sharing. Would anybody else like to share a challenge?
Excuse me, Matt, perhaps you could throw your contact information in the chat box, an email or something, if people wanted to reach out to you and get some detail on what you're doing.
How about we ask is what maybe the most important thing that you need from OSBA at this time?
Also, Matt, I don't know if you've noticed, but Patty Miller has asked whether or not the meetings you've been doing have also been recorded and how they might be accessed by other board members or administrators.
Yeah, I think if OSBA is so inclined, they could push out the Zoom call list, and people want to jump on, they certainly can. We're recording them. I'm going to push them out too, but be glad to do that. So Rick, if I forward it on to you, can you have someone on your team or somebody else put that out for?
Absolutely.
We're doing more and more, and we're also doing every Thursday night at 8, we're doing a Twitter chat on remote learning. And so this Thursday's remote learning chat, and we'll also try to tag in there Ohio remote learning as well. We have 2 elementary principals, one from Lakota, one from Hilliard, that are going to lead the conversation on remote learning, the challenges that they've seen. So if you've never used Twitter, it's really, just search for the hashtag remote learning Thursday night at 8. So I'm putting my contact info now in the group chat info.
It looks like Debbie Dunlap. Debbie, I can't find my hand either. I don't know if it's because there's so many of us on this or not, but Debbie, would you like to share?
So I'd like to share something, but then get a little bit of input from everyone else. I don't know if this is our biggest challenge, but it's one that has been near and dear to my heart. And I'm sure it is on the minds of a lot of other people in Reynoldsburg with nearly, I'm the board president here in Reynoldsburg, and with nearly 8,000 students and a 56% free and reduced lunch rate, we have a lot of kids and that we're trying to feed, and food that we're getting to families. And I think our first attempt last week, and we had to change things midstream because of some changes that came down from the governor. But we handed out, it was nearly 6,000 lunches and breakfasts to a week's worth to kids at one of our schools. And I was there this week and tried to help out, but it was also good to kind of see how the system was working. All these things packaged and staged, and then we're bagging them and someone's passing them out at a window, and we had people lining up and coming up. We had our own security out there. I know last week we even had Reynoldsburg police that were trying to make sure that people were social distancing. So it obviously went better this week because we learned a lot from last week. But just curious, because I know we had some people, why aren't cars allowed to drive up? Why are you just doing this with pedestrian traffic? And we have a lot of reasons for a lot of things. There are concerns about, not being able to get all the kids because maybe some kids can't walk to this particular location or have a parent or a guardian or aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, whoever to drive them to this particular location. So, it's a plus. I think we're doing a fantastic job at trying to get food out to our kids who particularly can't, and only making them come, once. But I'm also just really curious to see how some other schools are doing this. I know our superintendent, Melvin Brown, has been on a number of other chats with other superintendents, getting feedback from other districts. But just here, I would love to hear, any feedback from anybody else, if they have some good ideas and some things that they've done to be able to efficiently and safely feed their kids.
If anyone would like to respond, if you just put it in the chat that you would like to respond, we can go ahead and unmute you.
Hi, this is Sue Devine, and I'm from Marysville. And we've been, I think we've done a really great job with our lunch program. The first week, we did have pickup at, I think, 5 or 6 different school locations, but we also offered delivery services. And then with some of the changes, we're just going to move to 100% delivery starting tomorrow. And so, we had an email address and several Facebook blasts and email blasts to encourage families to sign up. And then they're going to split these deliveries amongst some principals and then some other possibly bus drivers or other aides that are available to deliver these meals. So that's what Marysville is doing.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Kathy, it looked like somebody else wanted to respond. Mullins.206.
208, yeah. Hi, Steve Mullins with Chillicothe City Schools. We are delivering all of our meals. They've been delivered by bus drivers, volunteers. We've had some church groups, and we've also utilized integrated services and some counselors. That kind of allows those folks to go out and check on some of their students who may be kind of problem students that they're worried about in their home environment. So that's actually worked out very well for us. It didn't seem like a great idea to actually bring kids back into the building, which is why we went the delivery route. So right now we're delivering over 1,000 breakfasts and lunches a day. So far it's working okay for us. We'll just have to see what happens here over these next few weeks as this continues.
Awesome.
Okay, we had a board docs question. Our district uses board docs. I could see the agenda while I use that. Is there a way on Zoom to show that? I think Sarah from legal is going to answer that one.
So there is a way to do, though you can share your screen, and actually that's how we showed you the PowerPoint presentation at the beginning of this. So if somebody pulls it up on their screen, the host of the meeting can actually pull up board docs and then share it, and then you'll see exactly the same way that we saw it here. You'll actually see the person's screen with the agenda from board docs on it, and then the boxes with people's faces on it will show up in the corners.
Thanks, Sarah. The next question is about athletics, about our spring athletics season. Anybody on the team feel comfortable talking to that, or at least pointing in the right direction?
Kathy, I can respond with some limited information. The Ohio High School Athletic Association does meet with the Department of Ed's and the governor's stakeholders group every week. So we've had some conversation with them. As you know, they just pulled the plug on the winter tournaments just last week. So I think OHSAA's position has been to preserve hope as long as possible. As a matter of fact, this isn't an official OSBA information I have. It's more because my son is a high school spring athlete, and his coach shared a communication from OHSAA where they were actually exploring, up until today anyway, a baseball season that would go into the summer, perhaps even to July or August, was floated around as a rumor. I suspect with the postponement now of the season to May at the soonest, that's probably going to be a game changer. We were scheduled to have a meeting with OSBA's High School Athletic Association board team and Jerry in just another week, but unfortunately with all the chaos, he needed to cancel that. But we can reach out and try to get some clarification. But again, as of last week, they were still sending out hope. As a matter of fact, we just got a text from the baseball coach who keeps emphasizing postponed, not canceled. So I know all the coaches are still hoping they're going to get it in, but we'll check and see if that position changed after today's news.
Thanks, Rick. Jennifer, I think this one is to you about the legislative team tracking which of the new legislative provisions, such as virtual meetings, is working or not.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We will certainly do that. No matter what, we're going to have to get some additional legislative changes because, as Sarah said, all of these changes that they made were put into temporary law and just kind of one-time things to deal with the current situation. But yeah, I think anything that is working well that we want to seek a permanent solution or a permanent ability to do, we can certainly take that to the legislature. And I see that Eric, mentions that it's going to be needed to be practiced responsibly in the meantime. And I think this opportunity allows us to show folks at the legislature when they say, well, what if someone does this or what if someone does that, that we all really do have the best interest of kids in mind. And when you give us flexibility, we make it work. So I think this will be a good experience and hopefully we can get some more flexibility in the future.
Thanks, Jennifer. This is from Emily Hatfield at Olentangy Local Schools. She states that there's 6 locations from which her students can come pick up their lunch. We have a number they can call to schedule their delivery. From Angela Abram to Mullins in Chillicothe, are you delivering door to door?
We are delivering door to door. We're leaving it on the front porch or by the front door between the hours of 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. each day. We're delivering that day's lunch and the next morning's breakfast.
Thank you. From Walsh to everyone, are boards required to pay supplemental contract holders for spring sports if the spring sports are canceled? I don't know if we have the answer to that yet, Rick.
That's probably a me question, Kathy, but I don't know that I have the answer to it either. We are looking into this. This is a question that we've actually had conversations with a lot of school district attorneys on as well, and I'm not sure that everybody is on the same page with that yet. So stay tuned and we'll get the information out as soon as we can.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. I don't have any, hold on just a second. Are districts thinking about giving back pay to play fees that districts have already collected? Does anybody have any input on that?
That would be a really good one.
Okay.
Kathy, I was just going to say that would probably be a wonderful item to add to the upcoming board meeting agenda to talk about fees in general, district fees in general, and what the recommendations from the superintendent will be to the board about anything that's been collected between now and when school comes, between when school's closed and when schools come back in session.
It's a good question. Anything else for the group? I think we had talked about earlier, once again, is there anything specifically that OSBA can be doing for all of you right now?
Kathy, on that note, I'm going to jump in real quick. I'm Kenna Haycock, Senior Policy Consultant for OSBA. I know we're beginning to get several questions from y'all about how to address policies in light of the legislation that's going on. We are actively reviewing that and sending information out to districts as soon as possible. But if you do have questions on that, please feel free to reach out. I know one of the biggest questions we've received is how do we handle the online learning? A lot of districts should have language in place on that. And for those of you who use OSBA policy code EBC and the accompanying regulation EBCD-R, and I'll put that in the chat box as well. But just want you to know we're here as you have questions, and you'll hopefully be seeing some more detailed information on how to move forward from a policy perspective coming up before too long.
Thank you, Kenna. We had another question about graduation fees that I think go right along with those pay to play. Plus that goes along with my personal questions, like, are the universities going to be refunding us for dorms that haven't been lived in and meal plans that haven't been used? So I think there are a lot of really unanswered questions out there, not only at the public school level, but actually at the university level also. Anything else? General questions, things that you want to share, good to knows? Thank you, Sue and Steve. Thank you for, you're very welcome for this meeting. This was really good to see everyone for sure. Well, before I turn it over to Rick, where he can bring us home here, I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. Stay healthy, stay positive, and please remember we are here to support you through all of this and after.
Thanks, Kathy. It goes without saying, our physical offices are closed, but the work continues. I'm very proud of the team that's been working hard behind the scenes on your behalf, and we're going to make a difference each and every day to try to help you get through all of this. I know we're partnering very heavily with BASA and OASBO as well, and the entire school education team is really coming together to try to make a difference. But I, again, want to thank each of you for what you've done to keep the schools running and to keep education occurring. The student learning has not stopped, and the work you're doing is nothing short of miraculous. Is getting out the meals, continuing the online learning, just a super job to all of you. And again, as Kathy had asked, if there's absolutely anything that OSBA or BASA can do for you, please don't hesitate to call. We're always just a phone call away. And if anything comes up, there's no statute of limitations. We'll any other ideas, questions, anything you want to share. I know Jeff Chambers is putting up, keeping everything up to date on our website, and we'll also open up a new section for sharing of ideas. So if you have anything that's been successful or questions you want to pose, get them out to us, any member of the staff, and we'll get those posted for you. One last chance. Are there any other questions? I am curious, and if you could let us know if you found this beneficial to you. We could try to replicate these as information comes up, as the questions compile. Again, send a note off, and we'd love to continue serving you in this way as well. We did promise you a 5 o'clock adjournment. We're going to get out of here just a little bit early, but I'll thank you for giving up an hour of your busy evening to join us this evening. So thank you, everybody.